3D Elephant Ring Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I made this really fun little elephant ring. I absolutely love making rings. I have a passion for rings. I collect them. I don't know if you've ever noticed in my videos I wear this one all the time, but I switch them up on my other hand. So I wear rings, usually daily. I don't know why I'm not wearing it today, but I've made this elephant ring, babbling over. I made an elephant ring out of acrylic and wire that I absolutely love. I love elephants. I have an elephant necklace that I made a long time ago that this ring kind of goes with. So I am loving that and I love that. And you can definitely take the ideas for making this ring and throw that onto a nail. I actually have a 3D elephant nail. I'll put a link to that in the description box below, so check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And don't forget to click subscribe to my future videos as well. So to start with, you're going to want to wrap your wire around either a ring former or something that's the right size to make a ring that's cylindrical. So just wrap that around there until it's the right size, and then give it just trim it off about where the ends are. If it doesn't meet entirely in the center, that is just fine. In fact, mine had a pretty decent sized gap in it. So just cut that off and then just kind of bend that end piece, because it's not, if you look at the ends, they're not really smooth. They're not tight. So I just took and I just pressed them. Well, I did that in a second. So I'm going to wrap a nail form backing around that ring sizer, and then re-put that ring back over the top of it. So that little, the nail form backing is protecting the ring sizer from the acrylic, which I'm now applying. So as you can see, there was a pretty significant gap in my ring. And so I'm just going to set my elephant head right in that gap. It's going to completely get rid of it and make it invisible. Plus, having acrylic completely surrounding all of that wire is going to make it not sharp. So you're kind of buffering these sharp edges as well as closing the ring up at the same time here. So I'm gonna start with my elephant head. So just almost like a teardrop that you pull out straight, and then you just like take that tail and then you curl it up to the side to create the trunk. This is not exactly anatomically correct for an elephant head. There are some slight differences that I chose to make it more durable. So his trunk is significantly shorter and thicker than an actual elephant's trunk would be. So you could almost think of him, he could be like a young elephant, maybe? I don't know. So I just changed it up a little bit so that most people won't even notice. But it's a little bit altered so that it fits really well on the ring and it'll be durable and wearable. So then I'm going to take and I make one ear off to the side. You have to make your ear thick enough that it sort of smooths over the wire. So I don't know if you noticed, the wire that I'm using is flat. It's like squished. I don't know. That's I look at it and I think of it as being squished. And so it's not as thick as regular or a lot of jewelry wire is, which makes it easy to smooth over and do this with. But if you're using regular round wire, it might take a little bit more acrylic and the ring might be a little thicker in general. So there's the other ear. Keep looking back and forth to make sure that they're symmetrical. Now the beauty of this is the chances of you can't actually see both ears at the exact same moment. So if they're not perfect, nobody is ever going to know. That's a nice little thing that you don't have to worry about there. So I'm just going to add a little bit more acrylic to the head just to make sure that is higher up and thicker than the ears, because you want that to be pulled out farther than the ears. And since the ears have to be all the way up as high as the wire goes, it's kind of, you have to add some, make sure it's thick enough. And then add that little fleshy part that goes over, it's like his lips that go over the tusk on each side, but not the tusk themselves, because they're going to be white and we're going to add them later, so that once we start adding the color to him and making him gray, we're not going to actually get gray acrylic on the tusks, accidentally get gray acrylic on the tusks, because that would be unfortunate. So now I'm going to be adding the gray to my elephant, and I am using acrylic, but it's very wet acrylic, so it's almost like I'm washing over it. It's really almost kind of looking like watercolor. So just really wet. This is going to, create that wash and also make the texture of the acrylic almost a little bit splotchy looking. That's not really the right word. It's not going to be solid gray. It's going to have a little bit of a transparency to it that some parts of it will be a little bit thicker or a little darker, some parts will be a little bit lighter, which does add to the whole elephant appearance, because, well, nobody's skin is completely one color all the way across unless, I don't know, they're airbrushed or something. But, so just give them that kind of almost uneven thing there, just like that. And I also missed saying this, but you're going to want to add 2 teeny tiny little black beads for his eyes. So just add those. I know that right now they're circular, but we'll add eyelids in a moment. And then I also took some really wet black acrylic and I like underneath that top part of his ear, so right like in the inside of the really skin section of the ear, I just took some black acrylic and I washed over that area as well, which is going to definitely make it look a little bit more deeper and farther in, which I'm doing, as you can see right now. Just a little bit of black acrylic in there. And if you don't want to do that right now, you can definitely add all of that depth later with paint. So now I'm going to be taking tiny beads of regular gray acrylic, and I'm going to be adding his eyelids. So I'm going to do a tiny bead for his upper and lower eyelid on each eyeball. So just place them down sort of right next to the eye, and then pull them out with the brush, and then shape them. And if it goes too far over the eye, since it is acrylic, you can sort of push it back and make sure that it does look right, and make sure that from side to side, because you can see both eyes at once, that those do look symmetrical. And I'm going to add a little bit more acrylic between them, sort of in that area that kind of goes from his skull to the tusk, or to the trunk. It's a little thicker right there, so you want to just add a little bit more acrylic there to give it some more dimension. And then I'm going to be adding the gray acrylic over his trunk. I keep wanting to say tusk, over his trunk. And so then after all your gray black acrylic is on there, go ahead and add his tusks. These are actually the tusks. Make sure that they are very, very short. And the one that's on the side with the trunk, to add some strength to both the tusk and the trunk on that side, connect the two. Make sure that they touch each other. So I kind of pre-planned that because that's going to add so much strength. So then after all that acrylic is set, you can take that off to the form backing off the ring sizer to just pop right off. And you can try it on, make sure it fits right. If it doesn't fit right, unfortunately, there's little you can do at this point, but at least you know. Maybe you could give it to somebody else. So then I'm going to be taking, and I'm going to use black and white acrylic, partially diluted. Sometimes right now I'm diluting the black, and I'm going to be adding wrinkles and the wrinkly texture. So I'm going to start, and I'm just going to add some wrinkles on the ears, and then take really quick motions and just whip your brush back and forth against the top of his head, just to kind of create that wrinkles around his trunk and then up his forehead. And then also really quick lines on the ears. And when I say really quick, I mean I'm just moving my brush as fast as I can get it to move. It's best not to think about these things, I think. Now I'm adding some highlights with some diluted white. If you do them really quickly, they're going to have a much more organic feel. They're not going to be even. They're not going to be all perfectly straight. And wrinkles aren't even or perfectly straight. So it's kind of like getting the right appearance without doing anything. Also highlight his eyelids. And then I'm going to be highlighting a little white line on each of the tusks and a little dot of white in the eyes, and then apply a layer of gel sealer over the top of your elephant and cure it. Make sure that you don't get any of that gel sealer on the wire. If you do, it's going to, crack, and it's just best just to avoid that. And you are all set. You could also cover him with matte top coat. Either one would be just fine. I kind of like the glossiness on him, even though elephants are far from shiny. I thought that it really brought out all of his colors. Either way, though, it's up to you. So I hope you like this, and don't forget to share recreations with me on Facebook and Instagram. I would love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!